Galatians chapter 5. It starts with the 16th verse. This is what it says. If you are guided by the Spirit, you won't obey your selfish desires. The Spirit and your desires are enemies of each other. They are always fighting each other and keeping you from doing what you feel you should. But if you obey the Spirit, the law of Moses has no control over you. People's desires make them give in to immoral ways, filthy thoughts, and shameful deeds. They worship idols, practice witchcraft, hate others, and are hard to get along with. People become jealous, angry, and selfish. They not only argue and cause trouble, but they are envious. They get drunk and carry on at wild parties and do other things as well. I told you before, and I'm telling you again, no one who does these things will share in the blessings of God's kingdom. One of my favorite sermons ever given is Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. He gave it in 1963, and when he did it to give a new message to Christians. And the central theme of his sermon is the idea of letting freedom ring. It's a sermon that reminds us that Dr. King's profound hope was that America would become a nation where all of God's children, regardless of their external trappings, could join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Can't we all hear him say that? It was his conviction that when the freedom of a few people are diminished, the freedom of every person is diminished, for none of them are really free. What positions of power do you and I experience that may be a source of injury to someone else? How are our life experiences protecting us in some ways from understanding the experience of others? Paul reminds us in this passage that when we reject the Spirit, we live for ourselves. This is another way of saying that when we think only about our own experience and don't keep our eyes open to the experience of other people in our world, how much are we missing out on the gospel? He makes a whole list of things that are examples, sorcery and enmity and carousing, but it's not about those particular things. What Paul is saying is that when we live to gratify ourselves, when we live to shelter ourselves from the reality of the world, we end up hurting people. When we're self-centered, when we are only worried about our own freedom and not the freedom of all people, that we will never experience true freedom until we see